A couple of weeks ago, I made a video coming to bat for the Wuthering Waves community after noticing the sheer amount of scrutiny this community has been under for what has honestly been months at this point. I mean, if you've been in the gacha space long enough, if you've had your ears on the ground, especially when it comes to what is happening on Twitter and YouTube, then you would understand that there's been a whole lot of misinformation spread about the Wuthering Waves community by members and even content creators from other communities. I mean, at this point, I'm sure that even without actively looking for it, you've seen post after post, videos after videos created around what are at best opinions, comments made to cause conflicts, videos made to stop what the creators believe is toxicity by spreading even more toxicity. But here's the part that might surprise you, because although many of these posts and videos can be rightfully ignored, although we can acknowledge that most, if not outright all of them, are not coming from a place of good faith, it is also my belief that to a very small extent, they're not wrong. Now let me be clear, nothing is going to change my stance that the Wuthering Waves community is nowhere near as bad as many of the other gacha communities. I mean, the best you usually find in this community is people who genuinely love the game, and the worst is people who are overly defensive of it, defending from people who overly attack it. But what you also need to understand is that for a while now, there's been a growing part of the Wuthering Waves community, a part where some of the most, for lack of better words, vile and deranged behavior can be found, a part that perfectly represents every single thing that these other communities accuse Wuthering Waves players of being, and in some cases goes even further. So in this video, we're going to answer a very important question. What is the name of this part of the community? What is their goal? What do they hope to achieve by doing the things they do? And even more importantly, is this simply a Wuthering Waves problem, or does this entire conversation go much deeper than just Wuthering Waves? That's exactly what we're going to talk about in this video. So if you're into this kind of content, make sure to leave a like and let me know your thoughts. What part of the community came to mind after hearing everything I've just said? Do you think they truly represent the Wuthering Waves community, or do you think there is something much deeper behind their existence? Tell me your thoughts in the comments below, and of course, don't forget to subscribe and share with on any of my future videos. Alright, let's get into it. Gacha Grail. Some of you may know exactly what those two words mean, and rightfully have an almost unholy level of disgust at the mere utterance of them. Others may have absolutely no idea. To them, those words are completely foreign, and that is exactly why this video exists. See, for those who are not aware, Gacha Grail, especially in relation to the Wuthering Waves community, is a group associated with some of the worst and frankly dumbest dramas you've probably heard about surrounding this game, most known for the targeted harassment of artists within the community. See, this is a group whose primary goal is policing and attempting to stop the spread of certain types of fan art, yuri art that depict a relationship, usually a romantic one, between two female characters. And as bad as the simple act of doing that already is, what gives this particular faction of the community its massive notoriety is how they go about doing it. I mean, we're talking about using AI to completely alter artists' work. We're talking mass brigading artists, sending an incessant continual wave of harassment, or my personal favorite, filing fraudulent DMCA takedowns against artists' work. And we'll definitely talk about this in more context later, but right now though, you have to understand how insane everything I've mentioned really is. I mean, even in some of the most toxic communities you find in the gacha space, there's usually some level of nuance. There's at least another perspective that you can look at that gives the toxicity a semblance of logic. But the Gacha Grail, on the other hand, is known for and has seemingly embraced the reality that toxicity itself forms the very core of its identity. And with everything that has been said, there's a very important question that naturally comes from all of this. How does a group like this even form? I mean, it's grew to the point of becoming responsible for some of the worst dramas the entire Wuthering Waves community has ever had. So where exactly did a group like this come from? And see, like every insanely toxic and dangerous group in the history of mankind, what you come to realize is that the Gacha Grail was also a group that originated from, believe it or not, a place of fairness and defense of the people, fighting against the very same core idea they still fight against today, the idea of Yuri in gacha, but at their origin in a completely different context. And to really understand their inception, we need to take a quick detour to talk about another very prominent gacha community, the Hoyoverse community. Because see, if you've been following the Hoyoverse community for long enough, what you come to understand is that with the insane amount of toxicity that has always been associated with this community, especially early on in its lifespan, there was one group that may as well have taken the crown for the single most toxic subsection of the Hoyoverse community. And that group was the Yuri Shippers, a group that had a simple yet quite weird philosophy that a majority of Hoyoverse's female characters, whether in Genshin Impact or Honkai Star Rail, had enough detail in their design or characterization to make them being arguably lesbian. And just like the Gacha Grail today, they had their own insanely toxic ways of dealing with anyone who went against that logic, regardless of who they were. I mean, whether we're talking about Public Enemy 101 Tectone, who 2 years ago had one of the biggest falling outs with the Honkai Star Rail community due to a joke he made about shipping himself with Robin, one of those supposedly lesbian coded characters from Honkai Star Rail. A joke that resulted in one of the most controversial videos in his entire channel and created some of the most vile brigading and backlash that we had ever seen from that side of the community. Or whether we are talking about one of the biggest sources of positivity in the entire Genshin community, Kat Pretano, the voice of Skirk, who not too long ago also received an insane amount of backlash for shipping Skirk with Rere, a character voiced by her real-life partner. But none of that mattered because once again, Skirk was considered one of those lesbian-coded characters within Genshin Impact. I mean, this backlash, this brigading, this policing of who should and shouldn't be shipped together became one of the defining traits of one of the most toxic corners of the Horrorverse communities. And in an attempt to fight against that, well, even though I can't tell you with full certainty that the Gacha Grail was formed there, what I can say is that it was elevated. And it came into the space with one simple idea: to fight against the toxicity that comes from enforcing queer ships. Essentially, to create a space within the Horrorverse community, and really the Gacha community as a whole, where people could be free to ship whatever character they wanted and simply have fun with whatever pairings they enjoyed. I mean, as I said, on paper, that was actually a rather honorable idea. But regardless of how honorable an idea may be, what history has also taught us is that anything involving a certain type of people can be perverted, it can be tainted. And with the Gacha Grail, it wasn't long before we started seeing signs of that perversion. I mean, what started off as defending people who simply wanted to create whatever ships they thought were cool or adorable in the Horrorverse games they loved slowly deteriorated into attacking anyone who drew or promoted Yuri ships at all. It went from targeting people who were genuinely toxic about Yuri shipping to targeting even those who did it from the most innocent place. I mean, the idea rapidly shifted from creating a space where everyone, regardless of what ships they preferred, could draw or promote these ships as long as they were respectful about it, to creating a mindset amongst themselves, where every single person who drew two women together in any capacity was an enemy who deserved to be brigaded. And that mindset became so much worse with the release of Wuthering Waves. In fact, it was the release of this game that we saw the first major idiotic drama this particular group managed to create: the petition to remove the female rover. See, anyone who has followed my channel for long enough would understand that despite how much I consistently praise the story of Wuthering Waves, there is one aspect of its writing that I have always had a problem with, and that is what the community aptly labeled gathering wives. The idea that every woman the rover meets is immediately mesmerized by the rover, an almost instant attraction towards the rover that becomes so prevalent that more often than not it starts defining those characters themselves. And to Wuthering Waves' credit, I think this is something they've actually done a pretty good job improving recently. I mean, it was far more of an issue during the game's earlier versions, where the rover essentially had what could only be described as their own harem. But with all of that being said, what this conversation is focused on is not the creation of the gathering wives concept, no, it is the reception of it. Because while there were people like me within the community who simply did not like the direction gathering wives was taken, people who believed that it was more detrimental to the story than beneficial, there was the other side. There was the Gacha Grail, the side that stood at the complete opposite end of the conversation, the side that didn't just, like normal people, enjoy the idea of gathering wives and argue why they liked it. No, they took that obsession so much further, to the point of creating a campaign to completely remove the female rover because they believed the harem should only exist for a male protagonist, to the point of mass spamming Crew games themselves, calling the existence of the female rover nothing more than an illusion of choice, to the point of constantly arguing across social media and relentlessly brigading people. All of this because they believed that having a female protagonist receive all the affection would create Yuri relationships within the game. I mean, we're talking about a dangerous obsession with the hatred of this idea in gacha games, an idiocy that serves as the core of their entire movements. And what's even worse is that if you think everything I've mentioned about them so far is bad, then what they did next, the very thing that stands as the peak of their toxicity, will leave you completely speechless. Because see, as I hinted at the start of this video, with everything and everyone that has been affected by the Gacha Grail, there is one group of people that has received the absolute brunt of their attacks and harassment, and have received it tenfold. I'm talking about gacha artists, especially the ones creating Wuthering Waves artwork. I'm talking about some of the most talented people to ever fall in love with this game, about people who express their love by creating some of the most beautiful artworks imaginable. I mean, I'm pretty sure we've all seen and probably fallen in love with some of these pieces over the years. But you see, one type of artwork these artists frequently create as part of their catalog is Yuri art. And honestly, calling some of these pieces Yuri would be a massive stretch. I mean, yeah, some of them do imply a romantic relationship between two female characters, beautifully done by the way, but many others depict depict something much closer to friendship, the kind of friendship we've seen literally portrayed within the game itself. But still, whether a portrayal of relationship or friendship, what you come to understand is that the reaction from the wider gacha community has almost always been a positive one, a continual outpouring of love from a large portion of the community. But then there is the Gacha Grail, and even more than that, there is what they did. And I want to make something perfectly clear. It would be one thing if they had simply continued their usual arguments and brigading. I mean, at this point, that would be par for the course. But this time, they decided to take things so much further. Because see, in an attempt to battle the Yuri artwork they saw within the Wuthering Waves community, they forged unauthorized DMCA strikes, essentially spreading the narrative that Kuro Games itself was against these artworks. We're talking about actions that were and are still vile, disgusting, and most importantly, absolutely illegal. And the worst part is that it's worked. I mean, artwork from multiple incredibly talented artists were taken down, pieces were consistently removed from Twitter, the confusion spread, the drama only escalated. Hell, even Kuro Games themselves started receiving backlash because of this completely fabricated narrative. Backlash so bad that the official Kuro Games Twitter account had to come out and publicly address the situation. That is how insane this became. See, yes, after hearing all this, we can call the Gacha Grail every name under the sun. I mean, quite frankly, they have earned it. But what this particular incident exposed was a side of a gacha gaming culture that we had never truly seen before. I mean, yes, we have seen toxicity, we've seen death threats, we've seen mass brigading, we've seen communities go after creators. But for the longest time, there was always this underlying assumption that these were internet things you unfortunately had to be prepared for if you wanted to publicly share your opinion online. But this was different. I mean, to go so far as to forge DMCA claims, to drag the name of the very game you claim to love through the mud just to push your own agenda, to cause actual pain and real financial harm to complete strangers who are simply trying to make a living, or in the very least just express their love for a game in the best and sometimes only way they know how, to push an artist so far that they'd publicly say they no longer want to create Wuthering Waves content anymore, that they would decide that losing the joy of creating, losing the freedom to create, losing the money, the actual income that comes from creating that content was preferable to dealing with this tiny, insignificant subsection of the gacha community. I mean, that is a completely different level of insanity, a different level of cruelty, and most importantly, it is something that should never be associated with the Wuthering Waves community, the Horrorverse community, or really any gacha community. I mean, these are people that stand completely on their own, claimed by absolutely nobody. And I genuinely hope that a video like this from someone within the Wuthering Waves community can at least let those artists and anyone else affected by the Gacha Grail know that the overwhelming majority of the community stands completely behind them in this unbelievably stupid drama. But that is just my opinion. What do you think? What are your thoughts on the Gacha Grail themselves? What are your thoughts on the artists who have been affected by them? What are your thoughts on this entire discussion surrounding the Gacha Grail? Are there other examples you think perfectly capture just how insane this part of the community has become? Or hell, do you think there is any nuance left to be found here? Tell me your thoughts and more in the comments below, and as always, I'll catch you in the next one.